Hello friends, welcome to TechNoe channel. Today we'll discuss about JSX. I split a JSX tutorial into two parts. In this first part, I'll discuss how JSX translates into React.createElement call, component scope, accessing JSX elements, little such as string and boolean, JavaScript expression inside JSX, choosing JSX element at runtime, if-else statement, and finally spread attributes. Let's start by creating index.html with some simple markups. I'm including React Core, React DOM, and Babel using script tag. You should use Webpack for production usage. Let's define a div tag with id root. This will act as a container element for all our React components. I'm including some optional CSS style sheets. For our application code, let's include app.js file using script tag, and remember to specify type as text/Babel. Now we can create app.js file with a simple function, myTitle. As we are going to deal with JSX, we mostly interact with the functional component today. In this method, we are returning h1 tag with some text. I rendered this component using react.dom.render method. In the right hand side, heading text is displayed. Let me open the Chrome inspector, and here we can see JSX translated JavaScript code. Let me explain what's going on here. Basically, any JSX element will be converted into React.createElement call. It has three arguments: type of element, properties, and finally children. First of all, any JSX written inside myTitle component will be converted to createElement call. The text inside h1 tag will be mapped to third argument, that is children. And h1 tag name will be mapped to the first argument type. And as there is no properties involved, so null will be assigned to props. One important thing to note here is that not only JSX written from myTitle will be translated, but also wherever myTitle is being used will be also converted to. In this case, only tag name myTitle is assigned as a type. Rest two are null. Now we can see how both of these map to generated code in Chrome inspector. Let's add two attribute channel and topic. These two HTML attribute will be converted into JavaScript object and assigned to the second argument. Now access channel properties using props.channel. As we are passing TechNoe as channel name, nothing changed in the browser display. Now we can add series attribute to h1 tag. This will be an HTML attribute. In this inspector, we can notice translated object as second argument, and the text node is mapped to the children argument as well. Now we can pass string inside double quotes as we are doing till now. Also we can pass string inside curly bracket. Remember to use single quotes surrounding string, and this will work just fine. If you pass any HTML entity code such as %gt semicolon or %lt semicolon, React doesn't translate into corresponding less than or greater than symbol. If you need to display this symbol, type them directly. Internally, React will translate into the corresponding HTML entity code and display it appropriately. You don't need to Google each time you have to display some specific symbols. But instead of using curly bracket, if you use double quotes, any HTML entity code used will be translated to the corresponding element. Now let's organize the code a little bit and create a header component. Move myTitle inside header and render header to the DOM. Nothing more changed visually though. Let me add another element, subscriber, with one attribute as count. This component doesn't exist yet. Let's create it now. Inside the subscriber component, return h2 tag with access to props.count. Now let's update the value of count from 10 to 1000 plus 300 inside curly bracket. This is a powerful concept. We can pass any JavaScript expression inside curly bracket. React will calculate the result and assign the final value. In this case, we are using a simple addition operation. Result 1300 will be displayed on the browser. We have created app.js file, inside which we implemented myTitle, subscriber, and header component. Also inside header component, we are using myTitle and subscriber component. As all three components are declared in the same file, we can access each other without any issues. Let's say we have another file, logo.js, where we have implemented logo component. How to access it inside header component? There are two ways we can achieve this. First, importing logo component inside app.js file. But for this, we need some sort of module loader, such as Webpack. Secondly, assigning logo component to window object, which will make it global and accessible across the application. We'll use this approach in our case. If you have noticed, React DOM is accessible globally as we have included using script tag. We have not imported any module inside app.js for the same. Now let's create logo.js file. Inside of it, create a functional component with name logo. Before proceeding, let me drag and drop image file into the base directory. Inside logo function, return image element, which will refer to logo.jpg file we have just added. Now to make it globally available, associate with it window.logo variable. In the index.html, we have to include logo.js using script tag and make sure to define type as text/Babel, as we are dealing with JSX content in this file. Now let's move to the app.js, and inside the header component, we can add logo component as shown. Save and reload, logo displayed in the right hand side. Here we have learned how to declare and use a component created in different file. We have created a constant, myButtons, and assigned an object. Inside the object we have fields referring to small functional component. This approach is used to encapsulate small sets of similar component inside an object. We have defined primary button and secondary button, both returning button markup with some text. Now in the header component, we can access both the fields as shown as below. Here my button is JavaScript object, and using dot notation we can access primary button and secondary button. Notice first letter of all the React elements should be in uppercase. React team recommends to use this naming standard. And the first letter in button starts with lowercase because this is a standard HTML element, not user-defined React element. Now let's discuss about boolean literals. We can specify a disable attribute for button. By default, value for it should be true. In the right hand side, you can see primary button is disable. Also, we can pass true or false using curly bracket notation, and the behavior of the button will be changed accordingly. Now move back to the uses of myButton using dot notation. In this case, we decided which button to use in the development type or compile time. As myButtons is a JavaScript object, by passing keys we should be able to access its value. This way we can change the key at runtime and the value returned will be changed accordingly. Let's try to use this approach. After save and reload, you can notice browser window is blank. And let me open the Chrome inspector and clean up a bit. Now we can notice syntax error. That means this way of accessing is not allowed. To achieve selection of component in runtime, we have to create another proxy component. In our case, let's create myCustomButton, which props as an input argument. Based on the property, we select the component reference from myButtons and return temporary component using JSX syntax. Instead of using myButtons now, we should use myCustomButton with type attribute. And we can pass which button we would like to render. In this case, we specify type as primary button, and primary button will be selected. Assign the value, which is a function, to the temporary variable, rather it is a temporary constant we declare here using constant keyword. And return as a React element. Here remember, don't return temporary temp button directly. This is a common mistake in this kind of uses. So myCustomButton acts as a proxy button in this case, and the primary button displayed in the right hand side. Now change the type to secondary button, and the secondary button is displayed accordingly. Now let's discuss about conditional rendering a bit. We'll cover in depth about conditional rendering in another video. Here we'll return different button using if-else statement. Let's define a variable button text. If the type is primary, return primary. If secondary, return secondary, and in all other cases return default. Then return a button with button text embedded using curly bracket. Now use myCustomButton component with type primary, and primary button will be displayed on the right. Create another myCustomButton with type secondary. Now small type issue is there, let's fix it. And here it goes, secondary button displayed properly. Now create again myCustomButton without any type attribute. In this case, the default button is displayed. Let's clean up a bit. Inside header component, define an object title props with 3 properties. We have used the same name as that of HTML attribute defined earlier in the myTitle element. So instead of specifying as HTML attribute, we can pass the object directly. But we have to use a special syntax using 3 dots. ... title props. This special syntax is known as spread attributes. In the myTitle, remember to use ... title props enclosed by curly bracket. Most of the time I forget to use spread attributes inside curly bracket and it throws a bunch of error to me. To introspect the value of spread attribute, let's log using console.log. This will be passed as another property inside the React. Let me open the Chrome inspector and you can see all the 3 properties got printed. We can assign props to multiple fields. In this case, first field is the standard field, channel. However, the second one is the spread attribute. This process is known as deconstruction. One thing to note here is that the field names should be same. In this case, it is channel. The second argument, title props, will be contain both topic and the subscriber. This way we can pass title props to the child component without much translation. We'll discuss remaining topics in part 2 of the JSX tutorial. Thanks for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a good day ahead. Bye bye.